I want to get into some numbers with Clemson. I'm not really giving a ton of opinion here. I just dug up some numbers that I think are relevant. We got plenty of time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to get into a lot of opinion. We'll have some a couple guests from Clemson as well to get this picture painted from both sides rather evenly. But just some numbers here, and a couple of these that I'm about to bring up really don't have a lot of bearing at all in the game on Saturday, but I just think they're interesting. Like, Clemson's second in the country in wins since 2011. They've got 161 wins. Only Alabama has won more games since 2011. Since 2015, so the college football playoff era, Clemson's third in the country in winning percentage against the top 25. They're 31-12 against the top 25. That's a 72% win clip. Only Alabama and Ohio State have been better than Clemson. Here's a number here. Since 2014, Clemson is 70-5 at home. They won 40 home games in a row from 16 to 22. In the college football playoff era, they've won the ACC 8 times, and they've lost at home 5. Now, I will say, they lost twice at home last year. Louisville got after them at Clemson last year, and South Carolina with Lenora Sellers beat them as well. So, 70-5 if you go back to 2014, 2 losses if you go to last year. Then this number, which is on the negative side, and I think interesting. Clemson has been outscored 62-10 in the last 2 season openers. Georgia beat them 34-3 last year, and the year before, Duke beat them 28-7. So that's 52 points they've been outscored by in the last 2 openers. Hopefully that continues. I would love to beat Clemson by 30 points. I feel like it might be unlikely, but it hadn't been good for Clemson in openers. That's going to be the narrative around LSU, but it applies to Clemson as well. Let's talk about the offense for Clemson. Cade Klubnik last year, 3rd in the country in passing touchdowns. He threw 36 touchdowns last year. I thought it was noteworthy that of the 12 FBS quarterbacks that last year threw for 3,500 yards, and Nussmeier was one of them, there were 12 quarterbacks that threw for 3,500 yards. Klubnik's 6 interceptions were tied for the fewest. So good job of throwing for a lot of yards. Was in a group of 12. Great job of taking care of the ball as well, Cade Klubnik. 6 interceptions. His wide receivers are very talented. Antonio Williams last year led the ACC in touchdown catches with 11. Bryant Wesco was a freshman on last year's team. He had 708 receiving yards. That led ACC freshmen last year. So Antonio Williams coming off a monster year last year. Bryant Wesco Jr. had a great freshman year as well. As the offensive line, very experienced. They've got Blake Miller and Tristan Lee. You probably remember him from the recruiting ranks. He was a 5-star that LSU was very much in on. Those 2 guys are their tackles. Miller started 41 games, and Lee has started 23. And then you go to Walker Parks, who's a guard for him, 42 starts for him. Their entire offensive line, the projected 5 starters, 128 combined starts. That's the opposite of what LSU's got. They're very veteran up front. However, at running back, Adam Randall is their projected starter at running back. Dabo Swinney said he's going to start, so I'll take his word for it. He's got 4 career carries. He's a converted wide receiver, senior, only carried the ball 4 times. So they've got some questions at tailback. Now on defense, 5 Clemson opponents last year, 5 ran for over 200 yards on Clemson. Stanford, who sucks, ran for 236. Louisville ran for 210. The Citadel ran for 288 yards on Clemson. And then South Carolina, largely Lenora Sellers, who was running. I watched that game yesterday on highlights. Lenora Sellers ran everywhere, which LSU doesn't have that gear. But they ran for 267 on South Carolina. And then you've got Texas in the bowl game. Texas ran for 292 yards. So Clemson had a bad run defense last year. In fact, it was number 99 in the nation in run defense. Last year, LSU had the worst run defense in the SEC, and LSU was in the 50s. So you're looking at a Clemson team that's really struggled to stop the run last year. And then you look at Tom Allen, who they brought in from Penn State to be the defensive coordinator. His Penn State team last year, 9th in the country in run defense. So his team was much better at it last year. You look at playmakers on the defensive front. We're going to talk about these guys a lot this week. Peter Woods, TJ Parker, and then Will Helt, who they brought over from Purdue. LSU was interested in Helt. He ended up going to Clemson. It was one of Dabo's rare portal ads. But that duo combined for 19 sacks and 38 tackles for loss last year. And that's just off defensive linemen there. 19 sacks, 38 TFLs. You look at linebacker, they've got a couple guys who are very much proven, Sammy Brown and Wayne Woodaz. Very interesting last name, Woodaz. Those two combined for 176 tackles last year, including 21 and a half TFLs. Sammy Brown was the ACC Freshman of the Year, and he was a freshman All-American. Woodaz, converted safety, who had a big year for him at linebacker last year. And then you got the pass defense. Clemson was second in the ACC in pass defense last year, led by Avion, Terrell, and Jaden Lucas. Both of those guys are back. If Terrell sounds familiar, it should. Avion Terrell is returning. His brother, AJ, in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons, was a first-round pick out of Clemson and had a bad night in the Superdome in January of 2020. Jamar Chase, not a great assignment for him. Not a great assignment for a lot of folks. Avion will not have to deal with what his brother had to deal with in purple and gold, but those are the two guys who were back there. They're second in the ACC, and in pass defense, they were 14th in the country with 16 picks last year as a secondary. So, again, that was a very, very objective, numbers-driven segment. The nuts and bolts of it, Clemson wins a lot. They win a lot at home. Their quarterback throws for a lot of yards, takes care of it. Their offensive line is very veteran. The wide receivers are proven. The running backs are not. Defensive front, insanely productive, but they couldn't stop the run last year. Linebackers, a lot of skins on the wall. Corners, a lot of skins on the wall. That's essentially an overview of Clemson without going into opinion, which we'll get into a lot over the course of the next 4 days. I've got a lot of pieces coming up on the website. We'll certainly talk about Clemson on the show consistently, but if you want to read some of these numbers, I didn't go through all of them. If you want to read some of those numbers up on the site, LouisianaSports.net, there's a free piece right now called Statistically Speaking. It's a full look at Clemson by the numbers, and that's just, I thought, a good way to ease into the opponent. Every single Monday at LouisianaSports.net, I'm going to do a statistics piece that is not meant to be read beautifully and eloquently. It's not meant to have a lot of snazzy verbs. It's meant to give you the numbers, the nuts and bolts, and get you familiar with LSU's next opponent. This is a big one coming up on Saturday, and that was kind of my foray into game week here, statistically speaking piece that's up on the website right now. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.